Hi, my name is Jose and this is Eric.
Hi, we're with Summit Metals.
And welcome to our podcast today. Today we're going to be talking about myth busting and precious metals. Are you interested in this, Eric?
Yeah, let's do it. Why not?
So we got 10 myths, and Eric, you're going to have to try to debunk this.
Okay,
you
let's
ready
do it.
for it?
I'm ready, yeah,
All
hopefully.
Right. So for the first one, it's about investing in precious metals is only for the ultra wealthy.
Right. So that's actually a really good point. Precious metals are for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, precious metals go all the way to a gram of silver, which is a couple of dollars, all the way up to, I just saw someone posted a 300 kilogram bar of gold, which is $25 million in one bar of gold. That's so, price, yeah. You know, and then when you think of gold on a more kind of grander scale, it is a tier one asset, right? So it's held by central banks. It's held by many, many institutions around the world, but it's also held by many, many individuals, whether it's in coins, you know, like our 1 ounce buffaloes from the U.S. Mint, all the way down to gram bars that we carry, for example, from Scottsdale. It really does encompass the whole group of investors, of people that see gold as a very efficient, very important store of value and a great way to save money. So I think that is busted. It definitely applies to all users out there.
Yeah, perfect, great. And with regards to tier one asset, could you also explain a little bit as to what a tier one asset is?
Yeah, so those are assets that Federal Reserves around the world are allowed to use as essentially collateral for their own government issuances, their own bonds and things like that. So there are basically two tier one assets right now. One is the US dollar and the other is gold. There's a lot of talk about whether, you know, Bitcoin someday will become a tier one asset. I think that's very, very much in the air. In part because Bitcoin is I think an important asset, but it's also one that has extreme volatility. It's not uncommon for it to go up or down by 60% in a year, as an example. That's really hard to collateralize something meaningful against. So for that reason, I think it's going to struggle to be a tier one asset, but maybe in time as it becomes more mature. But right now, the clear winners are the U.S. dollar and gold. Gold being the largest asset in the world, somewhere around $17-18 trillion. It and of itself is worth more than the next 9 assets combined, of which silver happens to be one of those, that number 7 or 8 or so. So gold is a very, very significant asset.
Now, talking about significant asset, another myth that exists is that gold is too expensive.
Yeah, gold is expensive because it's a very precious metal. You know, it's one of those, I try to tell people gold is that one product that you can keep forever. You know, it's been obviously used as currency for thousands and thousands of years, but if I were to take, like, for example, this gold buffalo we just talked about and throw it in the ocean, I can come back 500 years from now, pull it out, clean it up, and it's all good.
It might not even be dirty.
It might not even be dirty. You know, it's just an amazing metal in that respect. And so it just is resistive to other interactions against it, which makes sense of why they used it as a coin or a way to exchange money, because it's just an asset that kind of never goes away. Now, in terms of it being expensive, you can buy gold like they do in, you know, like in central banks. They tend to store them in big bars that are somewhere, you know, roughly over $1 million per bar, all the way down to a kilogram of gold, which is roughly, let's call it $89,000 a bar now. It's about, you know, it's about the size of your cell phone, like an Apple iPhone Pro 16 or so, roughly that size. Yes. But it weighs 2.2 pounds. I mean, gold is very, very dense. It's like twice as dense as steel, twice as heavy as steel, and twice as heavy as silver as well. So it's a very unique asset. When you hold gold like that, you feel it, you know. Now, gold has been cut into various forms, right? So a coin might be an ounce. You can buy 2, 5, 10 ounce coins. You can buy bars from, you know, 1 ounce, 2 ounce, 5 ounce, 10 ounce. They also tend to shift over more into the metric system, 100 gram, 50 gram, 20, 10, 5, 2.5, all the way down to some bars that we carry. A Scottsdale, for example, 1 gram bar. It's a tiny little bar that that costs roughly $90. So you can buy gold in very, very small increments all the way up to the large. And then we're not even discussing, but we probably should, are the fractional gold. Things like all the coins that are essentially coming from the mints of the world that typically start in a 1 ounce increment, go down to a half, quarter, tenth, and then some all the way down to a 20th.
Yeah, that's right. And I've also seen one 100 ounce of a bar.
Yeah, yeah.
So it
really
goes
small.
there.
Yeah.
What would you say to another myth with regards to fractionals and the premiums? It's not worth buying fractionals.
Yeah.
Like, let me just save until I have enough money for an ounce.
Yeah. Well, that all depends on kind of how the market's performing. I know last year, for example, if you'd have bought a 1/4 ounce of gold at the quarter, even including the premium, by the time the year ended, you'd have more money in gold than if you'd have saved to the end of the year and bought the gold. Why? Because it was appreciating throughout the year. So you were buying it low, a little more to the top, where if you'd have waited, you were buying essentially at the top, right? Now, we talked about it in one of our other podcasts where we know that fractionals do carry a higher premium. To mint a coin takes work. They've got to stamp the coin, they've got to melt it down, they've got to create blanks, they've got to do all the things that are involved in making a coin, designing it, all those things. Well, when you have to do that same amount of work for now something that's 1/10 the size, obviously it costs more to do it on a per product basis. That's why the premiums are higher. But as we mentioned earlier as well, when you go to sell that particular product, that also is taken into account. So they tend to sell also for a higher premium. So I don't think people should be scared of fractional anything in precious metals. I still think they make an enormous amount of sense. And for the average investor, people like you and me, they allow you to essentially dollar cost average, where you're essentially buying a coin over a very specific period of time. So maybe the first of the month, you're buying a 1/4 ounce of gold or a 1/10 of an ounce of gold. And you're doing that on the first of the month for a year. At the end of the year, you've got over an ounce of gold, but you were able to do it more systematically, and it's adjusting to the variances of the market. Whether the market's going up or down, you tend to get an average price, which makes it a much safer play or investment for you long term.
I think that myth is debunked.
Yeah.
Worth buying and getting in
absolutely.
Before it just keeps going up.
That's right. One of the things that really drove me to become interested, when we first started this business, was I remember reading where you could take like 10 kilograms of gold back in the 20s, and you could buy essentially the average price home in America.
That's right.
If you took 10 kilograms of gold today, that'd be worth, let's say between 800,000 and 900,000. You could easily buy the median price home. But what people forget is that gold that you bought in the 20s cost $6,000. Huh? What could you buy for $6,000 today? Virtually nothing. You could barely pay your down payment on your apartment. Yeah. So owning gold over periods of time makes enormous sense. It also, from a portfolio standpoint, it tends to lessen the dramatic swings, the variances that go up and down that really kind of shock people, whether they're holding assets in, for example, the S&P 500 or other types of real estate or other types of investors. When those markets get hit, often gold is on the other side of that transaction. So where one's going down, gold in particular will be going up. So it tends to soften and make things a lot smoother. And ultimately, it takes risk out of your portfolio to have a set amount in precious metals.
That brings up to another myth, which is that I need a lot of gold and silver to make a difference.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I've seen a lot of people who recommend different products. I think that silver is a more volatile asset than gold. So I do think that silver portends itself more to a younger generation. Does that mean someone my age, early 60s, should not be buying silver? No, I think we should. I just think the predominance of it should be in gold at my age. Much like any form of retirement, as you're getting older, you want to move into a more secure asset as you move along. When you're younger, you can take bigger risk, which is why I think a balance more into silver at that point makes sense. As far as how much, that's really between you and your financial advisor. We're not here to provide financial advice per se, but having come from that world, I can tell you that there are people who very actively recommend about 10% of your assets in gold and silver. Some recommend as low as 2%. I think the higher your net worth, actually the smaller that number becomes. So my base case for myself would be if I had, say, in excess of $10 million, I'd be putting somewhere between 2 and 5% into precious metals. If I had something less than that number, I'd probably be anywhere from between about 3 and 8. Maybe if I'm young, I'd probably be around 10.
So then that brings up another myth. I mean, this is just all coming in because I'm thinking about, what about the hassle of owning gold and silver at my home? It's a hassle.
Yeah.
It's a headache.
It can be.
And there's risks.
There are risks because the thing about gold is because it's a tangible asset, you can take any piece of gold, any coin, anything that's quality gold, like 22 or 24 karat gold, and you can melt it. And you can turn it into a bar, you can turn it into a ring, you can turn it into a necklace, you can turn it into many, many things. It's not identifiable as the asset that you took from somebody once someone does something to it, right? They're generic by nature, which is a good thing, right? So storing gold is an important thing. Like kind of, as we've talked about it before, there are definitely people, kind of the stacker community that wants to have absolute control over that asset. If you don't hold it, you don't own it. That mindset, those people want it to be locked away in a safe in their home. They want it hidden. They want it buried in the backyard. They go through all these different machinations to try to secure that. It's always at risk, whether from fire or theft or things like that. I think as people become a little more sophisticated, they tend to want to then take at least some of that and move it into a professional storage operation. You think of like the Brinks of the world where you've got, like in our case, things are vaulted. They're 100% insured. They're marked to market. So the insurance, as the value of the asset goes up, the insurance goes up with it. So you're always protected. You know it's yours. Anytime you want it, you can place a call, send it to me, and bam, it goes out that day. So it can be very, very safe. There are small fees associated with that, but they're very, very small. And considering the risk and the fact that insurance is provided for the asset, to me, it's a no-brainer. That's something everybody should do.
I need to agree with that. I used to be in the camp of if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Mm-hmm. But when I'd leave my apartment, when I lived in Jersey in the city, I always had the anxiety of the alarm, the safe, like something just happening
Apartments,
wrong.
condos, things like that. I mean, that's definitely.
Would my insurance even cover it?
Right.
Even though I did read the fine print that it would cover it.
Right.
But we all know how hard it is to get claims with insurance sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a little bit like, people talk about like a rainy day fund. You need to have, like 6 months of cash on hand to cover your immediate expenses, your rent or mortgage, your food, your, things like that. I think that everybody should do the same thing with their precious metals too. Whether you want, like somebody like me that wants to vault my assets, I also believe I should have some on hand that are highly secured, hidden, things like that, that's there too, right? Because the nice thing about gold is it's so transportable. A coin that's, the size of like a silver dollar, if you will, it's worth almost $3,000. Like you can put 10 of those in your pocket, have close to $30,000 and walk right down the street. Nobody knows. And you can sell it anywhere in the world. It's entirely liquid. That's anywhere in the world. So anyone will buy it or trade for it. Yeah. So it's an important asset. I do think it's important, like we said, to keep that balance between what you hold and then what you're keeping professionally stored and insured.
So I talk similar to some viewers that would be thinking, okay, we're talking about storage, but what about confiscation? Like, couldn't confiscation occur? I know this might not be a myth, but can we talk about that?
Well, I think that when you're talking about confiscation, I think where people often direct order banks, right? Like there are definitely people who store things in a safety deposit box, and technically, as I understand it, that's actually not your asset; it's the bank's asset.
Is it really?
That's countersigned to you. So if that bank is seized or whatever, they're going to seize the boxes with it and count it as an asset of the bank, subject to the bank's insurance. That's the way I understand it. So that is absolutely accessible by a government entity and things like that. I think that's why private storage is actually really important, because it's not stored in a government facility or, quite frankly, a government regulated entity in that way where they have control over that. So that's why the concept of using a private vault to me actually makes a lot more sense.
Okay. Let's pivot a little bit. Talk about the other myth of I'm going to get scammed buying gold and silver. I don't know if it's even real. How do I know it's real?
Yeah,
like, this is
Yeah, I think that's a very, very important one. I mean, I see people buying and selling on Facebook groups, Reddit groups, TikTok groups, where you literally have no idea who the counterparty is. They can be anyone. They can mimic anything. They're extremely good at it. They provide great pictures. They provide dates with pictures. They do all these things.
And great prices.
And great prices. And usually the smart ones are smart enough not to make it too great, right? They keep it just where it's a nice, wow, I'm getting a great deal, but it's obviously not fraud, right? But so, you know, I think one thing that people don't understand is, first off, they don't understand how gold is quantified in terms of its purity, right? So we use that term 24 karat. If you go to a jewelry store and you want to look at a chain, for example, or something like that, you'll typically see them in 10 karat or 14 karat. Very, very rarely on 18 karat in the United States, correct? So 10 karat, if you just take your calculator out and divide 10 by 24, that's the percentage of gold. So that means a 10 karat, what they'll say, solid gold piece of jewelry is actually alloyed metal, alloy meaning combining two metals or more, and it represents less than 50% of pure gold at 10 karat. So you can see 12 by 24 would be exactly 50%. So 14 karat divided by 24 is 58. So if you bought a 14 karat solid gold chain, you're actually only buying 58% pure gold, right? So when in the bullion space, we tend to deal in 22 karat and 24 karat. So 22 meaning 0.9166% pure, 22 karat. And then there's 24 karat, like a buffalo, for example, which is 24 divided by 24. That is 9999% pure gold. So that's kind of how gold is quantified. So then how does somebody know? One, deal with somebody who's reputable. That's step one. You should be able to read reviews and do all kinds of things, and not just reviews on Facebook groups and things like that that can be manipulated or mimicked. You do it on places like Summit Metals, for example. And then you need to have kind of a solid guarantee from that particular provider. I know in our case, right, we XRF our metals, which means we radar check them. We have the ability to do it via sonar. We have the ability to do it via impedance with metal testers, all kinds of different methods. And that's how we know with an absolute assurity that when we send a product out to a customer, they're paying for and getting exactly what they expect.
And you brought up something that kind of lit me up, because it reminds me of other, a lot of our customers call in, and I'm the one who's picking up the phone, and they're like, should I pick 24 karat or 22 karat? You know, because I want more gold. So 22 karat doesn't have all that gold. Can you explain to viewers, like, 22 karat versus 24 karat is actually the same? Not like
can be.
It's the same, but in the bullion world, what that means.
Yeah, well, that's an interesting debate, right? Because, for example, I could do some pre-33, which is, you know, what is it, typically like 0.96. It's actually not pure gold. It's a lot closer. But here's the key. Whenever you buy a bullion product, at the end of the day, it's going to be valued against one and only one thing, and that's the amount of gold in that particular product.
Correct.
So, for example, if you buy an American Eagle, that's a 22 karat coin. If you bought a 1 ounce American Eagle, that's a 22 karat coin, which means it's 90.9166. But that coin doesn't weigh 1 ounce troy. It actually weighs more. So in that coin, you actually have a full 1 ounce of pure gold. So when you buy an American Eagle, you're buying a coin that's slightly heavier to adjust for the fact that it's alloyed typically with copper. And so you end up with 1 pure ounce of gold and a little bit of copper. That's why it's 22 karat, but you're still getting an ounce of gold. When you buy an American Buffalo, for example, that's 24 karat, you're getting 1 troy ounce of pure gold. So those coins in and of themselves are essentially valued very, very similarly. Some people, me included, I prefer the 24 karat. I just like it. I like the feel. I like the look of just what pure gold looks like. So I prefer a Buffalo over an Eagle. Many, many, many of our customers are in the total opposite camp. They prefer the 22 karat. There's also a belief that the 22 karat, because it is alloyed with a tougher metal, like copper, for example, that it's a little bit, it can take more abuse, if you will, than say a pure 24 karat gold coin.
It's a little bit true.
It is true.
Maples ding like.
Yeah, they do. The funny thing too about that though is people think like it's, oh, I've got this coin, I can just like bite it or bend it around my finger. Not true.
Not true.
At the end of the day, I was actually talking to our producer, Cooper. It's funny, but you have to realize at the end of the day, these are actual metals. These are metal. You know, it's not some other compound or some other product that's not metal. These are metal. So they're very, very strong. It's just gold, 24 karat gold is more malleable than, say, another type of metal.
The hardness level.
The hardness level is different, which is why it's used in jewelry sometimes and things like that, because you can make it into amazing shapes. You know, you can take gold, for example, like an ounce of gold, you can take it and just keep making it smaller and smaller into a single line, which I understand can stretch close to 5 miles. A 1 ounce coin, 1 ounce of gold in a coin can be turned into 5 miles of wire, like the really, really small. But gold is so amazing in how malleable it is in that respect.
I think that myth is busted. Another aspect is we've been talking about gold a lot. Let's talk about silver. Silver is poor man's gold.
Yeah, some people say that. I don't agree. I just think it's a completely different metal. You know, gold has its use cases in jewelry and in store of value, like we talked about with banks and Federal Reserves and things like that. Silver has a very industrial use. It's used in warheads. It's used in medical equipment. I mean, gold is too, but much, much smaller.
Solar panels.
Silver is like the most conductive metal in the world, which is why you see it in solar panels and things like that. So it has it has kind of a store of value use case, but it also has a very industrial use case. So it tends to, I think, move more with the economy. When the economy's doing really well, people are buying more things, which means they need more silver to do it. So it can fluctuate more with that type of thing, much more so, I think, than gold itself. But it still is a precious metal. When you hold silver, as you know, Jose, you can take silver and you can kind of pling it with your finger, and it has a very, very distinct tone. You can absolutely tell it's silver just by the sound that it makes. It's really an amazing metal in and of itself, and far more affordable for people to store, or not to store necessarily, but to buy. You can buy silver. An ounce of silver is $30-ish.
And it's a great entryway into
great entry and a great metal. It's a great metal.
Yeah,
please.
Go ahead. Let's
go
bring it
for it.
over here. But while our producer is going to grab it over there at the vault, another myth that I just want to bring up is it's hard to sell precious metals.
Well, that's a good thing and a bad. I think that may be a myth that's true and not true, right?
Yeah, why?
So it's hard in the sense that you just can't walk into the 7-Eleven I guess you could, because some precious metals coming from, government entities have face values, right?
Oh yeah, you
so
could technically
you could walk in and absolutely hand them the face value of a coin. You'd be an absolute idiot to do it because the value of the metal is worth multitudes more. But the reality is precious metals are not liquid in the sense that you take it to a store and you hand it to them and they give you back that amount in U.S. currency or some other currency around the world. This is, for example, a silver eagle. This is from the U.S. government. This is 1 troy ounce of pure silver, and it is beautiful. It is an absolutely spectacularly beautiful coin.
I don't know how you're going to zoom in on that camera.
Yeah, well, we can show
Good
some.
luck with that.
He can do it in post.
Do a B-roll in this video.
Yeah. And so, but at the same time, the fact that it is a little harder to sell is a good thing too, because when you start accumulating precious metals, you're less likely to go spend it on something frivolous.
Yes.
So it kind of, in a very subtle way, enforces or encourages you to become more of a saver and to put things away, knowing that down the road, these absolutely are going to hold value. They're going to be worth something, where a fiat currency may or may not. I mean, go to Venezuela, go to Argentina, go to Germany after the war, go to different places, and the paper was worth more than the actual currency stipulated on the bill itself. So that was never true with silver and has never been true with gold. So it kind of goes both ways, right? Yet you can take your product, you can go to an online dealer like us at Summit Metals. On every single listing of bullion there's a buy price. Call us, we'll buy it right on the spot, and you get your money. So you can sell it when you want to. It's not that you're locked into it. It's a little bit more work than just taking it to a store and buying a cheeseburger or whatever.
Which is why you should have some liquid cash alongside
Absolutely.
of your overall wealth.
Yes.
For those rainy days.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I want to ask right away, when did you start collecting gold?
I haven't been a big gold collector for a long, long time. I'd say I really started, maybe, on and off maybe a few years ago, but I really in earnest started doing it the beginning of 24.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty new, actually. Yeah. How about you?
Well, I started very aggressively in 23.
Nice.
And for me, meeting you, I remember those conversations about, because at that time I was a dealer.
Right.
And you had a lot of questions about gold.
Yeah.
And
I've owned gold now other ways from a portfolio balancing standpoint. I've owned it, via ETFs or via other means. It's just in terms of physical gold, that's really started for me this year.
What made you change to physical gold?
I just like the idea of having something that's not part of the system. I like the idea of having something I can hold, something I can travel with, something that is not dependent on a counterparty. I like the idea of what gold represents.
Was gold important back then when you were doing stock trading?
Yeah. So, for those that don't know, I'm the guy that started stock trading on the internet in the early 90s. So I've got a little bit of experience in that world. And gold was to me just another asset. There's stocks, there's bonds, there's precious metals, there's oil, there's real estate. Yeah, it was an asset, not one that I tended to focus on that much, though.
And when you first got a hold of physical gold, how did it feel like?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when you feel the weight and just the sheer purity of gold, like something you don't see, like we've talked about, like in American jewelry per se. You go to the Middle East and they see a 14 karat piece of jewelry or even an 18 karat, they don't consider that jewelry or even gold. They just consider it like an alloyed metal, where for us to have the opportunity to hold real gold, like solid gold, like 24 karat gold, it's a kind of a unique experience. There's a real beauty to it, and just feeling it. It's very visceral, feeling the weight of it in your hands and the way it looks. It doesn't look, the colors aren't what you expect gold to look like, because we've become so accustomed to seeing a 14 karat piece of jewelry or 10 karat, which has much more of a silvery kind of tone to it, and this has much more of a cheddary kind of tone to it. So it's actually a very different look. I very much prefer it, quite frankly. And
I know we haven't gotten into what your favorite gold is, and that's what it is, but I'm just trying to set up the audience in your journey that led you to the specific gold that's on the table. Maybe people can see it right now.
Not sure.
But like, do you remember what type of gold you were first looking for when you were going into the physical market, that's a buffalo right there.
Yeah, you may remember more than I do.
Yeah.
Was it a buffalo?
No, it was not a buffalo.
What was it?
You were looking for just bars, pamp bars.
Oh, pamp bars. Yeah,
like,
funny.
Can I get pamp bars? It's like,
yeah. We'll have to do a podcast on the difference between bars and
Yes.
coins and things like that and rounds, so people really understand that. But yeah, I'd become enamored with the Pamp Fortuna. Now I'm remembering. It's a beautiful bar, pure gold too. It's 4/9 gold. It's also really beautiful, made from the Swiss.
Assay card versus no assay card.
Yeah.
These type of questions were brought up.
Right. So assay card meaning a card that shows that the gold's been verified and validated as being what it says it is, often serialized. Where when you get a coin or something like this, it's not typically done that way. It's a kind of a piece of currency in a way. But if you can kind of see from what I'm holding here, I'll kind of hold it up to the camera a little bit. And I'm sure
just do a B-roll in there.
Cooper, you can maybe B-roll some of these in so they can really see it, but it has a real presence to it. Like even this just 1 ounce coin feels like so much heavier than what you would imagine it to be just by its sheer size. You sometimes feel that sometimes when you hold like a piece of lead or something like that. It's that same kind of feeling, but it's just so much more refined.
And there's a specific sound to it, just like what we might be hearing in the background.
Yeah. We got in our warehouse back here a little work going on, but yeah. So anyway, yeah, I love pure gold. It's pretty amazing.
So liking pure gold, right now you're holding the buffalo. There's actually a lot of reasons the viewers might not know, so we need to get to it as to why the buffalo as well, beyond the beauty of it. Do you recall the aspects of like taxes and how U.S. bullion works in the tax system?
So buffaloes are issued by the U.S. Mint. They are 4/9 gold. They weigh 1 troy ounce. When you go to sell gold as a dealer, certain types of gold trigger a transaction where we have to file a form with the IRS saying you liquidated this particular asset. Right. When you're talking about gold buffaloes, or when you're talking about an American gold eagle, which is this coin right here.
In
America, this requirement does not exist. So you could literally come in here with a truckload of these and sell them all. You get paid, you walk out the door, and there's not a reporting requirement. Now, technically, you're required of your own,
yes, exactly,
of your own good merits just to self-report and let the IRS know you've done that, so you have a cost basis and you have a basis that you sold it for, and the difference is your gain.
There's a lot of benefits to owning American gold when you're an American.
Yes.
And there are also pros and cons with owning bars and gold that isn't actually coin. Like another reason that was brought up as to why buffaloes or American eagles is the fact that it's protected by the Secret Service. A lot of people don't understand that the counterfeiting of it.
It's actual U.S. currency.
Yes.
Right. Do you remember what they're denominated as?
I'm going to go with $50 for a 1 ounce.
I'll hand you one right here.
Am I right?
Take a look.
Oh, please tell me it's not 20. 50. I got it right.
Okay.
I know my denomination.
Yeah. Now, again, you're a complete idiot if you walk in and trade this for $50, which I've heard, by the way. In fact, I heard a story recently where
it's happened.
Some estate had a bunch of gold like this. They went into a local coin dealer, and the guy goes, "Yep, that's $50 coin." And the poor person sold them all their gold for $50 when it was actually worth closer to $2,700 a coin. That to me is absolute theft. I mean, that's just straight up fraud. That's stealing from somebody, and really, really wrong.
That's
so
shocking.
Don't be a victim to that process. Just know that this is valued not on how it's denominated, the face value. It's valued on its weight of pure gold, and that fluctuates every day.
Now, another thing beyond the buffaloes that you like, I'm actually holding some gold bars, which I actually like gold bars.
Yeah, I do too.
I got Valcambi multiple sizes here. If you could see I'm wearing COTS too because, well, I don't even know why I'm wearing COTS, by the way, guys.
Well, to hold this coin.
Yeah, I was going to hold that little small coin over there.
Yeah.
Valcambi over here, I started buying Volcombi 100-gram, 1-gram bars.
Right.
So it looked like this one, which is here in the video. This is a Volcombi 1 ounce broken into 1/10. So there's 10 1/10.
Or can be broken into 1
Yes,
to 10.
correct. It can.
Yes.
But Volcombi also does 100-gram,
Right.
1 grams.
Yes.
I would love those because I was actually able to barter with them because I would find a community out there that would be willing to
I see.
trade gold.
Nice, nice.
I traded bullets with someone at some point.
You remember, I don't know if you remember this story, but you and I were at a bank
Yes.
here in America, if that gives you any cue, if you put those words together. And we were talking to a banker, and he happened to be from Venezuela.
Oh, yeah,
And
I remember that.
we were talking about how we were, running Summit Metals at the time. And he said, gold in Venezuela is a very big deal. He said at a Walmart in Venezuela, you go in with gold, you pick out what you want to buy. They then figure out how much that costs to purchase. They take your gold and then they scrape it up until they get the amount equivalent to what you're purchasing. Why is that? It's because the actual fiat currency, their denominated bills are worth virtually nothing, but gold, again, always has value. So just that's a real world case happening today in the Americas as we speak. So
And that really brings in why owning different sizes of gold is so important, because right now here I'm talking about 100-gram Volcombi bar. That's more than 3 troy ounces. But over here where you're at, you have a little 1-grammer.
Let's see if I can pick this guy up.
In Venezuela would go a long way.
Yeah, there's it. Look how little that is. Little teeny gram bar.
You could put that as a jewelry.
Super thin. Yeah, you could put it in a pendant. Yeah. You could do a lot of things with it. And of course, a lot of those are used as pendants well. You've got a 2.5 gram.
2.5, yeah.
You've got a 5 gram. I've seen those. You can kind of see the difference. You've got a 5 gram bar there.
That's right.
And I know they make a 10.
In respective.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to see on camera.
But anyway, this particular gram bar is on our website. This is the Scottsdale 1-gram bar. We actually make these incredible wallets that make it very easy. You can imagine trying to store this is practically impossible. Like, it's really hard to store this bar.
You lose it.
Just too easy to lose. It's very, very small. But again, look how little this guy is.
And it's worth,
and this is worth
$100.
Close to $100. Just crazy.
Yeah.
It just shows you how valuable gold is. Here's another guy that's pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
This is another one of my favorites. This is actually my coin.
Oh yeah.
This is a 50 peso, a Mexican 50 peso gold coin.
1.25?
No, I believe it's 1.37 ounces of pure gold. So it actually says 37, let me restate that. It's 37.5 grams oro puro, pure gold. 37.5 grams. So we know that an ounce troy of gold is 31.15. So this is more than 1 troy ounce of gold. So this coin, for example, sells for more than this buffalo. Again, why does this buffalo sell for less than this 50
because
peso
it
gold?
has less actual gold content in it.
Like we said in our other podcast, it's all about the amount of gold. Now, sometimes you'll get a really specialty coin. This one right here, for example, was minted in 1947.
That's
right. That's close to roughly 80 years old, right? Yeah. And the Mexicans mint, the Libertads and the different coins they make are really beautiful and valuable. And that's why I bought this for myself. I just think it's an amazingly beautiful coin to collect. And with 37.5 grams of gold, it's got real value. And
the rim has a Libertad on it, correct?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You can't really make it out on here, but what's kind of neat about this is it has it could be valued 2 different ways, right? And even simultaneous. It has a historic value because it's a very old coin. So it's got a little bit of a numismatic flavor to it, but then it also has pure gold. So that, in that respect, this is a really, really unique, beautiful, beautiful coin.
It is.
Yeah. We like them so much we started carrying them at Summit for that very reason. And we sell a lot of them because people love them for sure. Yeah.
So then we got bars, we got fractionals, we got numismatic coins, old coins. At the end of the day, you chose Buffalo as being the one that you love the most.
Yeah.
What would you say about Buffaloes and like premiums right now?
Hey,
You know,
Cooper,
they're very
Cooper, would you
expensive.
mind, if you can, bring us the tube that the buffaloes are stored? Because
bring
I think that helps to answer that question a little bit.
Okay.
So buffaloes, we talked about how easy it is to store gold,
Correct.
right? With this coin, worth about $2,800
orange
as we're speaking. It's the tube with the orange top. Yeah, that's it. So we'll show you what this
Thank
looks
you.
like. This is a tube.
How are you going to open that tube?
Yeah, so you turn, you learn these tricks. You turn the top just a little bit, then you get a purchase, and you can pop it open.
We should make a video on how to open tubes.
Yeah, that's a whole science in itself, but kind of see what it looks like. It's not very big. You can see my hand, pretty small, but this holds 20 buffaloes. You figure 2,800 times 20, just a little shy of $50,000 of gold in this. You could take this anywhere in the world. You can hide it anywhere in your
pocket.
house.
You could put it in your pocket.
You can put it in your
airplane.
pocket, in your backpack,
Yes.
in a purse, like many, many places. It's just really, really easy to store and keep, and it's always pure. Again, it's 24 karat gold, so it's just a beautiful, beautiful coin that has truly lasting value, and I love how easy it is to store.
But why not an American Gold Eagle?
People could do that. I mean, we have tubes we could bring over for there, and they're roughly the same size. They're a little bit bigger. Remember we talked
Yes,
about how this
heavier.
has a full ounce of gold,
Correct.
even though it's a heavier coin because it's 22 karat gold. So it's also a spectacular coin. I have these as well, and I think they're also beautiful. I don't know. I just like the buffalo. I just think it's a great coin. I love the.
I do too.
If you notice,
I'm not gonna lie.
if I put these next to each other, I don't know if you can pick it up. I'll try with Cooper, but you'll see there's actually a different color. The 22 karat coin has more copper, or has copper, and so it's got a little bit of a reddish hue to it. Where if you notice the pure gold, the 4.9s, just pure gold, has kind of a cheddary cheese kind of look to it. It's just a different yellow. It's a yellow that most people, honestly, in the world, unless you're in this space, have never, ever seen. They don't actually know what pure gold looks like. So it's kind of fun in that respect. This is another coin we haven't even talked about that's really also beautiful. This is a Britannia.
Oh,
Right?
Britannia.
So this
Really
is a
well
gold coin. This is also 4.9s, fine.
made. 24K.
24 karat. Beautiful coin.
A lot of security features.
A lot of security features in this. And it also has, on the back, you always have the monarchy. So you can see on the back his picture here. And
King Charles.
King Charles.
third.
And then in 23, this is a 24 or later.
That's a 25.
This is a 25, okay. But on the 24s, you also had his picture because he became King of England.
Yes.
But on the 23s and earlier, you have her picture,
Yeah, Queen
Elizabeth, right? So you have a very different coin on the back, but it's the same coin. It's got exactly the same front. It's worth the same. This one has a little bit of a tab here. We maybe can put this on, Cooper, where you can see some of the security features. Makes it harder to replicate this coin than even the Buffaloes or the Eagles. And it's another beautiful, beautiful coin. They make these also fractionally. You can buy them in halves, buy them in quarters, buy them in tenths. You can buy them in 20ths.
Tenths are very popular in
Tenths are
Britannias.
very popular. We sell a lot of those, and it's a very competitive premium. And the same thing with these Eagles. The Buffalo only sells. At one point in its history, they did fractionalize it, but only I think
2008.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, 2008.
I think so. So
fractionals.
but realistically, when you buy a Buffalo, you're buying a 1 ounce coin. When you buy an Eagle is fractionalized as well.
1/10.
So these go down to half, quarter, tenth. We'll do a show on fractionals and show you a bunch of different types and give you an idea of what they're like, and you can figure out which you like. And a lot of people, quite frankly, it's kind of fun when our orders come in, you'll see people are trying different metals.
Oh yeah,
So
they buy
they'll order,
varieties.
they'll buy
Oh,
complete
one of each.
varieties, one of each. They'll buy all kinds of different things. And I think that's part of the fun too, of actually having
One thing
the
that
gold.
people don't know about Buffaloes and that you love Buffaloes is why I call it security features. The Buffaloes have uneven rims oftentimes. If you stack them
Yeah.
together, It'll look like the Tower of Pisa.
Yeah, it's kind of a funny thing with a buffalo where people expect absolute perfection in the minting of this coin, and they're not absolutely perfect. You can get a perfect coin. They'll grade them like a 70, and in that case, you've got a perfect coin, right? You can get a proof. You can get different things that are higher mintage, which costs a lot more. I tend to prefer the generic buffalo, which, I mean, generic's kind of a crazy word when you're talking about a $2,800 coin, right? It is in and of itself spectacular, absolutely beautiful.
Fantastic. Well, Eric, I think you pretty much walked through why buffalo is a choice that you've chosen,
why I like them.
Why you like them.
Yeah, but I'm telling you, we carry, for example, what are some of the other gold like this that we carry?
24 karat?
Yeah.
Britannias, maple.
We've got the snakes now, right?
The Perth Mint.
The Perth Mint.
Right now it's
beautiful. Also, all the way down,
series.
fractionalized all the way down to 20th as well.
Right.
Those are beautiful. The Britannias. You've got the maples, the gold maples.
Don't forget the Philharmonics.
The Philharmonics, the Austrian coins. There's say again.
Krugerrands.
The Krugerrands, yep. There's a lot of variety. We have a lot of those. The Krugerrands are very similar, actually, to the American Eagle.
And a little bit more red because they add more copper.
Yep. So this one is the 22 karat coin, but with 1 full ounce of gold. Same thing with the Krugerrand. And it's even a redder coin because, like you said, it's almost a pure copper alloy with the metal, with the gold. So, yeah, that's another great coin. So you can get an entire collection of these. And you get them in many, many different sizes as well. It'd be quite the board to have every one of those up on a board. I've never seen even what that looks like, but I'd like to see it. It'd be pretty cool. So.
I think the next one we should be talking about silver. What's your favorite silver?
I don't know. I'd have to think about that. Now, there's a lot of silver that come from the mints.
Yes.
That are private mints that I actually really like. I mean, Scottsdale has a Vortex and some other coins I really, really like. I think they're just struck beautifully. But then, you have the ones that come from the sovereign governments, the actual coins.
Britannia silver.
They're so freaking nice. Yeah, the Britannias are beautiful. I like some of the Australians too. The kangaroos, the Austrian ones are beautiful. I just bought a tube of Austrian silver myself, a couple of them actually, not too long ago.
Libertads as well. We haven't even mentioned.
Oh my gosh, it's talking about gold. Yeah, we're
talking about gold here. Let's keep that.
We have a couple of a few examples of Libertads in our vault right now. 1 ounce Libertads that are absolutely beautiful. I also am a owner
for gold.
of those.
I'm surprised you didn't bring up gold Libertads because you have a gold proof set.
I do.
Right?
Yeah, I have a proof set of Libertads, which is from 1 ounce all the way down. It came in a wood case. Beautiful. I'm scared to kind of touch them. I mean, they're so dang nice, even though they're capsulized. They're in a capsule. Yeah. I'm kind of scared to play with them. I'm just kind of scared to touch them, but I do think they're beautiful.
Bring it over here to talk about Libertads because Libertads is a whole different discussion of itself because it is much more expensive than anything you could purchase for gold. But
what's kind of neat too about one difference with silver that's kind of nice is when in gold you can get it like a 10 kilogram gold coin. I know the Perth Mint makes one. You can imagine what that costs. Crazy. Nobody ever buys those, but you can buy kilogram silver in coinage that's often sold. Kookaburras and lots of different coins we've carried many times.
Kilo
Libertads, like a lot of those. So yeah, this will be another fun episode. Okay. We can go through some of those for sure.
Let's do it.
Okay.
So thank you.
Thank you. And, thanks, Jose.
Let's talk about this later.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Till next time.
Happy stacking. Oh, happy stacking.
Yes.
Right, Cooper.
Happy stacking.
You.
Thanks,
Let's
Cooper.
keep that in the video. It's always happy stacking.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.